Good evening. This is the Elliott Wave daily update for the S&P 500, being recorded on Thursday, August the 7th at 1:35 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. I'm here on the hourly chart and just kind of picking up from the intraday update where I had marked the overnight high uh, as the completion point for the minuet B wave as a part of the minute fourth wave. So now we have minuet A and B complete. It reached resistance. Actually, it reached a gamma level, and I just want to double check to see which one exactly it was at. Oh, that's the wrong one. Hold on one second while I get that put up there at 64.26 was the call wall. And so overnight it went up and it gave it a look. And the high overnight was 6426.75. And of course that kind of failed and then it just continued to decline, but kind of hung out above 6,400 until after the US Open. And it was pretty much at about 10 a.m. Eastern that the market began to give it up. And when it did in large fashion. Now, initially, I put the three up here, as according to the morning update today. The three was up here looking for a four. Well, basically, when it had started to come down and break levels that I thought, this is not good, I went ahead and marked it as five of C and then the B, and put the three back down and put the four here again. And then the market itself decided that nope, that wasn't good because it overlapped wave one, which the high on wave one was 6358.25. And today's low was, well, get it right on there, 6334.50. So market did have confirmation, and I'm counting it as five waves down, and I'm labeling it one of C. And I'm going to come down to the 15-minute chart, and we should be able to see pretty cleanly that whole move. We got a 1, 2, and then a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, a 3, a 4, and then a diagonal. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Nice diagonal coming into play right there. Put a 1 on it, and then we kind of came up, came down, and then putting in a C wave. I believe it's going to be a C wave, and this should be a wave 2. We can also just add some fibs to kind of put some parameters around. Oh, that didn't work, did it? We can put some parameters around wave 2. Come on. And we're going to go there, and then I'm going to come in here, and we're going to edit. And so this is going to be in this color. And just let me add this, come on. And this. So we've gone up, and what's still left is 50% and 618. And I don't think we get up too much further, but wave 2, second waves, can actually go all the way and almost, they just cannot break the starting point of wave 1. And of course, if that happens, it's not a wave 2. So I have 5 down, and I believe we're working an ABC up. We have the 50% retracement to back up at 63.80 and then 618 at 63.91. I think that wave 2 should likely hold to within these two. The market continues to be really directly influenced by Apple, number one. Apple, after the close or just going into the close today, managed to get itself above 220 and closed above 220, just barely above 220, but still, it was a pretty strong close. And then they just bought it back up again after, so then that additional hour, and now they brought it back down, pretty much getting it closer to the um, close at 4 o'clock. Now, What can happen from here? I'm going to believe that we're going to continue to on this C wave down. It all looks pretty good, to be honest with you. The way that I'm kind of viewing this is there's the minute three. Here's minuet wave A of minute wave four, minuet B of minute wave four, all counting out pretty cleanly now, including this, although if I had to, I'll switch it back out because again, I can drop this all a degree. It could be an ABC, and still this would be subminuet wave A of B. And you could take it all the way down, which would give it another chance of coming up and getting up either to an irregular or just, getting closer to that high. Um, I don't necessarily see that, but the market has been just really doing its own thing and really just falling under the Apple spell again, and which is fine. I think Apple eventually gets itself um, in the next rally phase. I think Apple will likely move to new highs, which are above 260 now. Yesterday I thought it was about 250. It's actually 260. So, and I think that that would be good for Apple. Um, in the meantime, here we have that the initial first wave down of the C wave reached the 382 level at 63.38, closed pretty well above it, and but still managed to get down past that, bouncing up off of it. So that's why I put wave one there. And we have continued support at 63.11. Not that I expect this C wave to complete there, nor do I expect the C wave to complete at 0.618, which is 62.83. But as today, as evidence, we continue to use those as possible markers for the legs coming down. So we have wave one, and we come up in a two. We can get wave three, might come in right there. But I think wave three is actually going to be pretty long. So it might just be an internal stop, and then we come back. Wave C, which is the one in progress, would equal wave A at 61.95. That often is a very common completion point for an ABC structure, and it would put in a new low below wave A, so it keeps it in that zigzag. So all of that works. So that's our first level to possibly complete the minute wave four. Then we have for minute wave four, we have 0.236 at 61.51. I continue to really look at this zone down here for that completion. And then you can see on where wave C would equal wave one, wave C would equal wave A at 61.95. And then down here is where wave C would equal 1.618 of wave A. And that actually is the second most common. So 6053.34. And then we have the 0.382, which is the most common for a fourth wave. And it would be the minute fourth wave. And that comes in at 59.54. It's not required to go there at all. We'll be looking more closely at the actual structure of the C wave. Now, in terms of spot gamma levels that were in play today, again, we had reached in the Globex session the call wall at 64.26, and it was also large gamma 3. So I went up, took a look, did not do anything beside that. I felt if the market could have held above 6,400, the futures market, and then began to rally again, that should give enough push to the SPX to get itself back above its call wall, which was 6,400. Did not happen. In fact, we went in the other direction, as we all now know. So what got broken on the way down? Well, large gamma 4, and that also would include in the SPX at 63.50, large gamma 4 came apart. Also in here in the S&P and the ES was 63.76. The volatility trigger did not necessarily, it did get engaged today with that low being 63.34. So the volatility trigger did get kicked in But it basically held as the buyers stepped in and brought the market back above 63.46 and managed to now close above that level. So I think that that kind of leaves a little bit of a positive spin for the market right now. Don't know what's going to happen in an hour and 10 minutes, an hour and 15 minutes, once the Globex session begins again. So we'll wait and we'll see. But we'll get revised levels tomorrow or just updated levels tomorrow, as several of these were broken. So we'll see where things get reset. I'm going to believe that the call wall is going to remain at 6,400. 64.26 here in the ES. That seems to be the pattern, but we'll see how the rest of this all fills itself in. And just looking again at the daily, because that's where we kind of keep an eye on the moving averages, and you can see the 8 is going flat. Pretty strong turnaround and some stronger downside today. The 8 is flat. The 30 is flat. The 50 is still kind of, excuse me, this is 78, is still kind of rising, and the 200 is still got an upward bias right now. So that may hold actually as we get through this minute fourth wave. Again, if we come all the way down into this zone down in here, it would engage with the 78 period moving average. And that could give it an extra push. And then retake it, which would likely keep things in a more positive nature. But again, first up would be the 8 crossing the 30, and they're both going flat. It's not doing anything. So on a daily chart, doesn't look that bad. On the hourly chart, looks like we could go another round down, because as we see it, we got the 8 and the 30 still above the 200. We've got the 50 that never really crossed up and beyond it. So it sits below. That's actually the 78. I'm sorry, old habits. The 78 is still below the 200 period moving average. And the 8 gave a little nod and a tip to the upside on this run up, and it got to and touched the 30 period. That's the hourly chart. So it's not actually looking all that bad, but I think we should continue to move lower. Now, the other side of the coin would be that it doesn't, and that would leave, in my opinion, we still got 5, but if I'm looking at the hourly, you're going to say it's 3, but I do think it's 5. And that kind of leaves us in a little bit of a quandary, or to me, as to what would be an alternate to what's going on here. And because I still do believe that this was a B wave, and that's the best way I can count it. As you can see, it's an A, a B, and a C. C wave was 5, wave A was 5. So it's a zigzag, as falling in line with what the overall larger pattern, in my view, is for the minute wave 4. So again, I think we're still kind of on target here. I don't necessarily have a direct alternate, but I keep an eye on it and know that if it starts to break back above this level, then it's not a wave 1, and this is not a wave 2. Because wave 2 cannot exceed the starting point of wave 1, and that would be 64.26.25. 75, excuse me. So if it gets up there, then we're going to keep going. And likely, if that upper level at 64.26 is still there as large gamma 3, then we'd be breaking it. And what that turns into in terms of this larger picture, I'm not sure. I'm definitely not sure, other than ABC, X, ABC. So that would my first thing that comes to mind. All right, that is actually going to be it. Now, tomorrow on Friday, we actually have 10 a.m. St. Louis Fed President Alberto Musalem is giving a speech. That's it. That's it. We have no numbers. We have nothing. Checking in to see what, if anything, we have tomorrow. we've got nothing. We don't even have any earnings tomorrow. So it actually is going to be expiration. So that being the case, our larger players, so the Mag 7, will be in play according to where the open interest is sitting and what strike price. So I may give a quick look at that tomorrow morning after everything gets filtered through for tonight, and we get some open interest levels at these important strikes for Apple, which sprang to life. So all the way up to the 220 now has got some decent volume, and we'll see. We'll see where it goes. All right, next update will be tomorrow morning.